Hello and welcome to another video on this channel. A couple of days ago, we saw the DV 2023 end of March report. This is a follow-up video, and in this video, I will be responding to some of the questions you've asked and some of the comments you made. There are 3 points I will be touching on in this video. The first one involves presenting the situation of interview scheduling at 3 embassies that you asked about. Before going into that, let me say once again that it is not possible for me to touch on all of the working embassies and consulates in the monthly report. As I indicated in the last video, in the monthly report, I will touch on the 12 embassies or consulates located in countries where most of the views came from during the month under consideration. So in case you do not hear the name of your embassy in the monthly report, then it means that you were not so many who watched from your country during the month in question. However, as the new month progresses, I will have the opportunity to regularly touch on other embassies and consulates that you asked about. This is the case of the 3 embassies that we are going to see in a moment. So that is how we will go about with the issue of interview scheduling at your various embassies and consulates. Now let's begin, and we begin with the US Embassy in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. This embassy featured in some of our reports earlier in this fiscal year, but it was not a part of the recent end of March report, and I've already provided the reason why. Now, the US Embassy in Ethiopia interviews cases mainly from the Africa region. Interviews at that embassy have been scheduled up to the 19,000 plus case number range, with the highest case number scheduled up to the end of last week being AF 19,182. That number is very far from the 60,000 cutoff number established for the Africa region for the month of May, which indicates very low performance on the part of the United States Embassy, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Our next embassy is the US Embassy in Amman, Jordan, where interviews are conducted mainly for applicants from the Asia region. So far, interviews at that embassy have been scheduled up to the 18,000 plus case number range, with the highest case number scheduled up to the end of last week being AS 18,726. That is very close to the 18,750 cutoff number established for the Asia region for the month of May, and that indicates excellent performance on the part of the US Embassy, Amman, Jordan. And then finally, our third embassy is the US Embassy, Islamabad, Pakistan, where mainly cases from the Asia region are interviewed. So far, interviews have been scheduled up to the 14,000 plus case number range, with the highest case number scheduled up to last weekend at that embassy being AS 14,076. That number is not far from the 18,750 cutoff number established for the Asia region for the month of May, and that indicates good performance on the part of the US Embassy, Islamabad, Pakistan. Now, the second thing has to do with the situation of interview scheduling at the embassies in Accra, Ghana and Nairobi, Kenya. Some of you have been asking whether I think interview scheduling will get to your case number. Now, to tell you the truth, no one can tell you which case number interview scheduling will stop at these embassies or at any embassy for that matter. We know the cutoff number for the month of May for the Africa region to be 60,000. At both of these embassies, interview scheduling is currently at 19,000 plus. Now, we still have 4 more visa bulletins to be published for the DV 2023 program. And I must tell you that within the upcoming 4 months, anything is possible. It is possible that interview scheduling at these embassies increase considerably, and then we see case numbers up to 60,000 plus being interviewed. It is also possible that interview scheduling stops at 30,000 plus, 40,000 plus, or 50,000 plus. It is even possible for interview scheduling at these embassies to enter 20,000 plus and then stop there. So no one can determine at which case number or which case number range interview scheduling is going to stop at, and no one can say whether your case number will be interviewed or not at these embassies. Another thing I must also mention is that the experience from the diversity visa program has shown that during the 2 final months of the program, a lot of interviews are conducted. It's like at the beginning of the program, many embassies drag their feet when it comes to conducting interviews. But then in the 2 final months, that is when the surge in interviews actually take place. And so that gives a kind of hope to some of the applicants who are assigned to embassies that are currently not performing well. It is true that not everyone will be scheduled for interview at the end of the day, but considering that in the 2 final months we expect high numbers of interviews, there are applicants who do not think that they will be scheduled for interview during this year's program, but because of that surge that will occur during the months of August and September, some of such applicants will end up being scheduled for interview. So that is one thing that could give some sort of hope to those assigned at these embassies who are not in the position to request transfer or change of embassy. I hope that addresses the issue of interview scheduling at both of those embassies. Now to our third and final point. And the third and final point concerns the question I received the most. I've had to answer this question on numerous occasions on this channel. I've also made videos in different forms addressing the issue. But the question continues to come, and the truth is that the question will continue to be asked up to the end of the program. It has to do with applicants telling me their case number, when that case number became current, when they submitted their DS-260, and then finally asking why they have not yet been scheduled for interview. And so for the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to take this time to summarize what needs to happen in order for your case to be scheduled for interview. There are conditions to be met at 4 different levels. The first level is at your level, and it has to do with the submission of your DS-260. But as I said, most of those asking the question have already submitted their DS-260. The next level is at the level of KCC. They have to process your DS-260 and then at the appropriate time add you to your embassy queue. And then in most cases, those asking the question have already asked KCC and their cases have been processed as well. The third level is with the visa office, and it has to do with the visa bulletin indicating that your case number is now current. And then the fourth and final condition has to do with your embassy. Your embassy has to be scheduling diversity visa cases up to your case number range. And so once all of these conditions are met, it means that interview scheduling of your case is just around the corner. And so in such a case, you are not really supposed to be bothered. It is just a matter of time, and then you should receive your interview notification, especially at this time that we are not very close to the end of the fiscal year. But in case any of those conditions is not met, then it means that that is where the problem is, and that should indicate to you why you have so far not yet been scheduled. That is how it works. And that is the reason why I come up with these reports indicating the situation at various embassies in order to give you an idea of interview scheduling at your embassy so that you will see whether that is where the problem is from. So to those of you who have been asking such questions, that is how you go about determining why you have not yet been scheduled for interview in most cases. So those are my responses to your questions and comments I was able to identify from the last video, which brings us to the end of this one. Thanks for watching it. See you, God willing, in the next one. Goodbye.